Alright. Let's go ahead and get started here. Now, if I did this right, this should be the fresh account save still. Alright, it is. Been juggling saves. Everything looking good? Yeah, everything's looking good. Alright, perfect. Let's start leveling up Mask Man. Bagman was fun for a while, but Bagman's still just Bagman. Slow, so very, very slow. I need money. There's so much shit now. Hey, Alex. So much shit. Got some concrete powder. Hey, Michael. I mean, that could be a strat. Just spam gunhead for the free gun. Yeah. Get some foam too. It feels like a lot of this stuff just has like... It definitely feels like they have like subtables of each one of these items. Like they might have common, uncommon, rare, and like super rare, and they've just applied the same cost to all of those items as like a stopgap, because like you see like all of these have 797. Yeah, so many 797s. Still am kind of fucking broke as shit. I want to sell stuff, but I just don't want to go through mass selling through my inventory. Yeah, placeholder templates. Let's see, I can be able to restore you now, right? Yeah. Alright. RPK. 762. We can start maybe pretty light here, and we'll pick up ammo on the way, hopefully. We'll find meds in the tunnels too. We'll bring like 2 for right now. What do I have unlocked? I have everything but elephant unlocked. Should I go to let's go tunnel B and get an elephant unlocked too. We'll just work our way up. Maybe our goal for today will be unlocking all the maps. Alright. Anything else? I think this is good enough to get started. Probably we can get some quests too, I guess. While I'm here. We're not going to Mech Trench, we're going to Elephant. We can do Lost Cache. I mean, we'll probably kill that many cyborgs on the way there. We can do maybe access 2 for Elephant. Yeah, I mean, might as well. Kill more cyborgs. Alright, to Tunnel A as we go. Went well. They didn't make it there, but that was kind of also like... They got to the point where I wasn't going to rush them to get them there, so... It was nice, because I can deal a bit more on it.
Hard to breathe up here. Put the mask
on. Alright. Alright, so we have the same tunnel jump. So I guess the way it works is like... When you get the reset, if you die, that's when it resets. So like right now we have the same tunnel set as we had before, but if we die, then it changes. I don't know. I feel like the players who probably need the most help with the same like tunnel template are probably newer players. So it should probably be like something that like essentially gives you X amount of runs or something like that until it changes. Or something that's not constrained by playtime, rather. Power cell, why not? Lots of power cells in the early tunnels. So many power cells. Do I need you? Maybe. Alright, I don't think we care about the first map we go to. We'll avoid this direction because that direction's just AIDS. We're good there. Make sure we sprint. I hear drone. Drone's in the wall, so we're good. Yeah, no, there's a lot of loops like that, Michael, if you really want to abuse them. I mean, you can just do, like, you saw that there was 4 crates right next to the extract, right? We could just grab those 4 crates and then go back to the extract and repeat ad nauseum. If you want to abuse the game, there's plenty of ways of doing it. Alright, traditionally there's a patrol in this room. We have a grenade launcher guy, probably. It's not... It feels like I should just fucking kill them. Like, why take the risk with the grenade launcher guy? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that loop van, but if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Hey Cat, how's it going? Alright, around we go. So it wouldn't be against killing some cyborgs on this map if we can. Yeah, that's kind of how I explain the loop. You're talking about is like it sounds tiring, and it sounds like it's a means to an end, right? You're trying to get to a certain level, but I don't know. I understand the need for some grind, but I never want a game to get to the point where it feels like you need to do something like that to like. ARPGs are something different from this. I don't mind, like, I don't want the grind to be that excessive to get to something, right? So Cat Warboss, the main reason why I started a new save is because Tunnel's pretty different. And I wanted to see how Tunnels feels when you're, like, the worst it possibly could be. I can't fully replicate a new player experience just because of, like, the knowledge I have. But I can at least make myself on, like, the same mechanical level as them in regards to, like, what my move speed is and what my HP is. The main thing I was trying to figure out, though, too, was, like, hey, are the people complaining about platforming valid? And by and large, I would say there might be some people who are very adverse to platforming, but for them to call this game a platformer, I think is very aggressive. Yep, out. Essentially, while I might be able to understand where they're coming from in regards to not liking the platforming, I ultimately don't agree with their rhetoric or their criticism around that. Like, a game having you jump once in a blue moon does not make it a platformer. Now, there is a platforming section of the tunnels. I will fully admit that section is definitely platforming. And I wouldn't hate if they add alternate ways through that tile. But like by and large, that tile is not ubiquitous across all of the tunnels. Enough to make the whole tunnel section considered to be a platformer. Now, I do agree that, like, there's probably elements of tunnels that doesn't feel great in regards to tunnels, like, just because, like, the amount of mantling you do in tunnels is a lot. So, like, one big problem is the electrical cords, for example, where they're not easy. Sometimes you can mantle them fine, sometimes you can't, sometimes they're a bit slippery. They've, by and large, fixed them, but, like, there's still a few areas where, like, the electrical cords can be a giant pain in the ass. But I wouldn't call that platforming, it's just a locomotion or like a mantling issue as opposed to platforming. So that was a big part behind me starting a new save, right? Was trying to see if those actually had, like, validity. And I disagree. There's also a thing, too. And I'm sure this will come up a lot today during the stream. So just buckle your seatbelts because it will be what it will be. But I know, for example, that Tarkov's movement and just general controls are tedious, or rather, there's friction behind moving around and doing stuff in Tarkov. And in contrast, Arc Raiders feels very smooth. But you have to ask yourself sometimes too, does the, like, actual rigidity or, like, the friction behind the movement serve a purpose? And in games like Tarkov, it might have been accidental, but it very much serves a purpose, right? It makes combat, it makes generally just, like, the friction of the game and makes the game difficult. It makes it feel more immersive. It makes combat scarier, right? You just can't, like, movement skill your way out of combat. You can kind of do it to an extent, right? Some Tarkov streamers have gotten very good at movement, but by and large, that's the exception, not the rule. And the movement, like, having some friction behind your movement definitely creates some interesting scenarios or creates some friction in your game. And essentially what I'm advocating for is while the movement in this game can be rough for a newer player, I by no means think it's bad enough, or, like, terrible enough to, like, warrant an entire rework. It can use polishes here and there, by and large. It can use some touch-ups and some quality of life changes, but by and large, we don't need to have this game become a movement shooter. And, like, Arc Raiders is a very smooth and fluid game, right? Like, the movement animations of that game feel really good. But I can't give a full design critique of Arc Raiders just because I don't feel like I'm going to play it enough to warrant it. But I can make a few assumptions right off playing it just for a few rounds. There are two games in Arc Raiders, and they're two very diametrically opposed games in my opinion. And you can see the shadows of what they were probably going to when you look at their PvE. Like, when I was playing the PvE in that game, the PvE felt like you were trying to be stealthy and like, it actually had some stealth elements, right? Like, there was a turret, for example, that I avoided the arc of fire because I had a clear spotlight of where it was aiming at, right? And, like, all of the robots do a good job of notifying you on the unit itself their aggro state. I put 2 rounds into it. I can't, like, give you a full breakdown, but, like, I can give you quick summarizations of what I experienced in those 2 rounds. So I can't be conclusive, but I can definitely be, like, I can tell you what I saw in those 2 rounds. But, like, the PvP in that game, I can already tell is like, it's very it's not, like, overly arcadey, but it's very, like, it's much more akin to a light movement shooter slash pretty generic fast-paced FPS, or sorry, third-person shooter game, which is, like, a very stark contrast to, like, the PvE game. And maybe that's the point, but it doesn't feel like it's the point, right? It creates this, like, kind of weird, like, push-pull where you want to approach PvE in a certain way, but you want to approach PvP in an entirely different way.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
Yeah, I just prefer Massman, because I mean, Massman can carry whatever rig Bagman can, except for, like, 1 or 2 of them, right? And they're usually novelty rigs. No, but by and large, like, we can talk about it more later as it comes up, as I'm sure it will. But, like, I will give props to Arc Raiders, though. It's a very well-polished game. They have done exceptional work making sure the game runs fluidly, the animations are smooth, the gameplay is smooth. Now, I think the gameplay is hollow, but it's a very well-made game. I think it fails on the design front, not on the actual, like, engineering or assembly front. What map are you? We're trying to go to Elephant. I think Arc Raiders will have a very good, like, following of players after it does its normal atrophy. It will have its big blow up. It will, like, have lots of players on launch, and it will atrophy players over time, and then it will probably have a steady player base of like 10k players. Sorry, concurrent, not overall, but concurrent. So like on Steam charts it will say 10k, and that will fluctuate day to day. I think it will be a healthy game. I think it's got it is polished enough, I think, that it will like attract people just because it's well polished. But I do think it's one of those games, right, where people are gonna play it for like a week or a month or however long, and then ask themselves, what is the point? Because it is one of those games, right, where it feels like it's got the core loop of you do runs to get better stuff, to get better gear, to do better runs. But outside of that loop, there's not much else. I personally don't like platformers, Michael, actually. I don't mind platforming in my games, Michael, but I will not play a game that's full dedicated platforming. I mean, I played Portal, right? Portal's more of a puzzle game than platforming. I played like occasional Mario games here and there, but no, by and large, I just don't really engage with platforming when it's like all obtained inside of itself. Though I will say, I did play quite a bit of KZ in Counter-Strike Go, which you could basically call, I guess, KZ in some way platforming, but not like a traditional platform. It's like if you did 3D platforming with weird movement tech. So I guess you can consider KZ platforming. It really depends if you have some purists around. Yeah, like not Metrovadians. So Doobie, essentially there are maps now called tunnels that connect the other maps together. And when you want to go to a certain map, you have to like kind of journey there or use resources to get around the journey. Yeah, I mean, Michael, I don't usually play Metrovadians all that much, or like games like I don't usually play 2D games that aggressively. I'll play them occasionally, but by and large, 2D doesn't really hold my interest. Also, something wrong with my screen? Oh. I think I had to full restart last time this happened. Hold on. Let me restart OBS real quick. Yeah, this has happened before, and I think I had to do a full restart to fix it. 1 second. Okay, we should be back now. Yeah, it's only happened once before, but just restarting OBS fixes it. So right now, Doobie, the way it works is that it's like there's 4 different tunnels. There's tunnels A, B, C, and D. And like, let's say, for example, or literally say, Scorched, Enclave, and Ashen Mesa are behind Tunnel A. So the way it currently works is you go to Tunnel A, and then you would go to Ashen Mesa or Scorched Enclave. That will take you to Tunnel B, and Tunnel B will have 3 maps, Scrapyard, Mech Trench, or Elephant. And then so on and so forth. So you kind of move through the game, move through the maps, and then move through tunnels, move to the maps, move to tunnels, move to maps. And there's ways around it. So For the most part, most fast travel requires a fast travel drone, which requires basically construction or resources to unlock. By and large, when you're on a newer account, you do not have a lot of those. So you're kind of forced to go through and unlock the maps in kind of a somewhat sequential order. There's been criticisms by lots of players of like how they think the fast travel drones are too expensive or too hard to acquire, and that tunnels takes too long. I'm in the camp that the way I personally break it down is I think overall, percentage-wise, tunnels takes up too much of your time. Certainly I don't do co-op, especially not on stream. It's got too many issues right now. There's LFG channels in Discord, but I personally don't engage with co-op right now. But anyway, like overall, like the way I would say is that I think like tunnels by itself, relative to the other maps, takes too much time, and it's for a few different reasons too, right? Oh. That's what I get for looking at chat. I was looking at chat but not looking down. Hold on. Yeah, I need to restart this now. Hold on. Hold on, I'm fixing Caster Labs. This is what happens when I have to do all of this. Everything has to get restarted. Alright, give it a few and it should work again. I mean, Nano, I usually don't miss those. That's the first time I've died to that in a long while, I feel like. And that was because I wasn't looking at my main screen. I was looking at Twitch chat. But, Caster Lab should pick it back up in a few. It will take it a few minutes, though. Or maybe right now, we'll see. It's not usually instantaneous. Exos are an issue in tunnels, 100%. Okay, let me rephrase it this way. There are plenty of issues with tunnels, but the issues with tunnels are not constrained really to tunnels. They're game issues, I would say. Exos are a real boogeyman right now in both the game and in the tunnels, right? Now, the problem in the tunnels is that their AI is broken, and they'll just sit in a corner and do nothing, and so you don't hear them, and you'll walk into a room, and they'll aggro to you, and they'll murder you. That's essentially the issue with Exos right now in the tunnels. I do think, though, on Nano, on your point, though, I do think a few of, like, the traps like that are a bit too... They're not very well shown to the player. Like, I don't... That particular staircase I'm not in love with just because, like, the weird floor sections that are missing don't feel natural, right? Oh, no, Doobie, you're good. Trust me, if I got angry from randomly dying in this game, I would have fucking stopped playing it forever ago. Oh, JBS, I believe it. Trust me. It's to the point now where the developers have basically told me what whatever happens when, like, well, there's a certain point when I talk to the developers of, like, when it's very clear to me that they've heard my complaint and it's lodged, but it's just in waiting or limbo. The new player experience is one of those. The other is the IRL timer. And, oh, actually, there's three things where I basically, I've been told not to literally shut up, but, like, we've heard your complaint, you repeating it does you no favors. And the three things are the IRL timers, the level design, and the new player experience. No, the baby tanks are definitely, I have not brought up. I brought up, like, in passing once, but, like, the baby tanks are funny, but they don't actually do anything in regards to, like, affecting player experience. Oh, it's specialty. It's rough. Because like what you're seeing here with Tunnels A is the new player experience. Like it is just like it throws you into tunnels with new players having no idea what they're doing. And like like there are some tunnel segments that will just like throw you an Exo in the first tunnel gen. You can just get bad lucked. And a veteran player might know that as like we just got bad RNG, we need to go around it for now. A new player would be like, I'm supposed to be able to get around this? They don't, Nano. The AI is not that complex. Oh no, Michael, I have told them multiple times about the bullet sponginess of, they haven't told me to shut up about it, but I definitely have told them about the fucking things on Frozen Swamp multiple times now. And to be fair, I did tell them about the railings too. So like these railings here, if I recall correctly, hold on, wrong gun. See, these railings are fine. Why are these railings okay? Maybe they fix it in a hotfix, but like there are a few railings over here, right, that are definitely kind of fucked. Yeah, and you're asking like one of the big things too, it's hard to like it's something I cannot replicate. Like I know, for example, like when I say I'm doing a new player experience video, right, or doing like a new account stream, I make sure I note this, right? I can put myself in like in the same handicap as them, but I can't unlearn what I already know or like have mechanical skills for it, right? Like if you can like the movement in this game is rough learning out, right? It's not like a traditional like WASD game. It takes a while for people to learn that. And that's not something you can just unlearn when you're, you know, you put a lot of hours into the game. But movement, like, I do not consider tunnels platforming, but tunnels are not things that make movement easy. And it's asking a lot for new players. The biggest thing with new players, like the big things that like the biggest thing for new players is the first thing is make sure you go to Aramaki and you buy silencers and you put them in every gun. Well, every rifle that you can. Like the first thing is just buy silencers and always run them. The second thing is it's kind of a mixed specialty. I would say the thing that you need to mostly get to like about 20 water. And at that point, as long as you're neutral, like you're not spending water, 20 water is basically fine. You don't need to grind to max water. All you need to make sure you do is you get enough to unlock all of the traders, and then you have enough to get by in case something bad happens or you spend some water accidentally. Outside of that, I would say what I'm currently doing is unlocking at least Tunnels D. Ideally, I unlock all of the maps, right, eventually, but getting Tunnels D unlocked is probably a big thing, too. Other than that, it's kind of a sandbox game, right? Like, for now, there's not a, like... It's just kind of play around, do quests, level up, get gear. Yeah, Golden Mongoose, Tunnels doesn't punish you all that much for not using silencers, correct? But you can't just, if you're trying to move to other, like, better maps, you have to go through maps, yeah. There's not, no. The suppressors, all they do is just make the people not hear you. It's also a thing too, for example, like say, like new players will like also feel like they should use the scav gun, the surplus rifle. It is the worst thing you can do is use a surplus rifle. It's serviceable if you know what you're doing, but new players don't know what they're doing, so don't use the service rifle or the surplus rifle. Like for example, these guys here, when you have a 10-round mag, will not die to body shots. So like if you're unfamiliar where their head is, or like you have trouble aiming, or you're not a great aimer, or if you shoot them in the back, like it's gonna take you forever to kill one of these guys. Like that was a full 95-round mag to kill 2 of them. Granted, I was just spraying, but like you can just take that as like bad aim, right? Well, if I just tap with headshots, it's only 3 to 4 shots. But the big thing is too, right? It's like I know where their hitbox is. You can assume where it is, right? It's logically where it should be, right? But if a new player doesn't know to tap the head, right? They're gonna fight these guys and be like, what the fuck? How do I kill these guys? Oh no, Silva, all the guns do the same damage, regardless of, it's all caliber based. So 545 will always do 150. It's only about headshot multipliers, basically. All bullets do not do the same damage. There's differences between the bullets by caliber. That's probably what you meant, I'm guessing. But yeah, the damage is by caliber, and the headshot multiplier, I'm pretty sure, is by caliber also. No, the shotgun also sucks. The surplus rifle is actually better than the surplus shotgun. When I bring the surplus shotgun, it's not that I'm trying to use it as a sidearm, it's because I just don't bother with a secondary weapon, basically. It's not me saying that the surplus shotgun's very good. Yeah, the grenade launcher, like, people will basically just say you should bring a grenade launcher in as your offhand to deal with Exos and stuff like that. I don't really like that idea. I mean, like, you could definitely do it. There's nothing wrong with it, but just No, it's not a milsim. It's not even Arma doesn't do that, I don't think, right? It's not Tarkov. If Tarkov even does that yet. I also don't think, like, if you're gonna have a mod increase damage, that's perfectly fine and well, but I really do not think, I think you're creating a problem for yourself down the road if you start appealing to the milsimmers and start trying to do things like barrel length calculations and bullet calculations and shit like that. Basically trying to do ballistics in your indie sci-fi game. Aggro works in two different, well, if you're talking about HKs, yes. If you're talking about just general aggro, it's just, do you have a silencer or do you not? I do think the actual threat indicator of your guns, like the HK threat, might influence aggro rates, but like not enough to the point. I never experimented with it. It never felt that stark to me. Like, it's the chronic problem, for example, if you do small differences between the guns. Players aren't gonna notice that. Like, if you have like a 5% difference of of being noticed between two different guns, I'm not gonna notice that. If you're shaving off like a tenth of a second between two different aggro states for two different guns, I'm never gonna notice that. The tanks stop, yes and no. They fixed the most extreme examples of tanks flying. They can still kind of do some funny shit though. Like by and large, tanks will not fly across the map anymore. But they still will do some funny stuff occasionally. Yeah, I mean, Neoprene, they don't have to have perfect weapon balance. Like, yeah, like, and perfect weapon balance is kind of just a myth anyway. But, like, yeah, they could do, like, the biggest thing is to have reasons to run different guns, and that does not currently exist. Well, John, HK threat's also dictated by the gun you have. There's likely a multiplier for your HK or for your damage based on the gun that you have. Hence why if you shoot a 20mm once, everything on the map hates you. And you get a dog to come murder you. despite you only doing 2k damage. Or is it 3k? I can't recall what that was. Yeah, you can use cluster grenades too to send some units. If you throw a cluster grenade beneath units, you will send things flying. Yeah, Silva, I tend to agree with you in the sense of, like, I do think they've probably realized that doing full open customization is a mistake. I hope they do. I do think them leaning on it any more than they already have is a mistake. If I want to go play gun nuts or like play mod my gun, I'm gonna go fucking play Tarkov. Sorry, and you're not gonna be able to do that, I don't think, in a game like this. Van, no. The Scar is my favorite gun in the game because it does not have a silencer. And gives you a reason, like, of like why it doesn't, right? It's a powerful gun. Like, if you want to go mow things down, just use the Scar. The downside is you don't get a silencer. That's a fair trade-off. Actually, yeah, we're on 545. Go do me a favor. Go get a 50 BMG gun and silence it, and don't wear ear protection. Tell me how silent your gun really is. Also, please don't sue me for hearing loss. Laser pointers give you a laser point. It can be hard to see sometimes.
We don't have enough gear to survive this.
I don't think they improve accuracy at all, but you do get a dot. I mean, you should, because it's good practice, Matrox, but like for guns that actually work with silencers, if you're using subsonics, yeah, you can do it without a headset, without hearing protection. That's kind of was my joke about, you know, using 50 BMG with a silencer, is it's not subsonic, and it's a very big round. It's going to make big boom even if you try to silence it. You guys should do some looting too. Yeah, but like in regards to this, right, this is like the weird thing where it is very abrupt how these just don't spawn. So Matrox, you use you're basically a VKS at that point. But like that's my point though, right? Is like if you're not gonna nuance your silencers, then you need to basically, if you're not gonna make your silencers nuance at all in your game design, then the other way of doing it is just not giving every gun a silencer, or giving you clear trade-offs. News about what? Brother, what you see on the Discord is what I got, so if you don't see any news on the Discord, I got nothing for you. I mean, no, they are a feature. Like this is supposed to be here. This is, you know, a trap, I guess, or like 3D printers going awry. It's just very abrupt, right? Like at the top of this staircase, for example, it could be here too. It's a very abrupt thing, right? Like IRL, Clem? They change how your gun, it depends on the gun, but like for the most part you generally have to modify your gun a bit to run on a silencer, mainly the gas settings, and some guns work better with silencers than others. Like a common issue with lots of guns with silencers is that typically the gas has to go somewhere, and sometimes the gas goes back in your face, which makes it can make it hard to shoot at times, especially if you're doing fun settings, aka full auto. There's also the thing too, for example, like you typically have to use subs, like if you actually want to get the full benefit of a silencer, you don't have to use subs, but subs are gonna remove the crack of the sound barrier being broken. So like, if you're gonna use subs, you're gonna have impacts on your muzzle velocity, which is gonna impact your accuracy at longer ranges. It doesn't have to. Well, okay, that's the thing I want to get away from here, guys. Is like, we're not trying to play a game that's emulating real life 1-to-1. We don't have to emulate real life exactly. You can make, like, that's you can abstract things. That's okay. It does not have to be Arma. And even Arma takes liberties too, right?
Don't miss. Make every shot count.
And like, there's certain things you can't emulate too, right? Like for example, the abstraction of how well a gun feels and performs and how ergonomic it is typically faster ADS speeds. Like, that's not how it functions IRL. Like, you can kind of say maybe it functions like that, but like by and large, the abstraction of like how well or how ergonomic a gun is by giving it faster like ADS speeds. Do I need to kill it? We'll just move on. All right, please be elephant. But Clem, like the way you would typically not typically do it, but the way I would see them doing it is that guns would have a noise profile, and like a noise, like let's say for example a gun produces 100 dBs, or just not even 100 dBs, it's like the guns produce 100 sound, and the silencers wouldn't remove that to 0, it would just mitigate it. So like, let's say for example, if 5.56 makes 100 sound and 50 BMG makes 500 sound, right? If you had a suppressor for both that removed 50%, the 50 BMG would still be way louder than the 5.56 one, right? But it would still be reduced. And that, like, that number could be used for like essentially aggro calculations or sound calculations of like if enemies hear you or detect you. That's the abstraction I'm basically, or that's the nuance I'm talking about, right? But right now, all silencers do is it's either you have them or you're not. You're either 100 or you're 0. It's going well, Joe. I died to Twitch chat earlier, but no big deal. Curse you, Twitch. Told me about what? I'll tell you right now, like, if I cannot discuss anything, like, I can tell you what I tell the devs. I cannot tell you what the devs tell me if it's about privileged information, like things that are coming in the future. That's not something I can share if I even knew about it. I can tell you right now, I don't know anything about it, because they don't tell me. But even if I did, I couldn't tell you. And even if I could tell you, I wouldn't tell you. I can't and won't. But I mean, like, if you've ever watched my streams before or seen my feedback, there's lots of things I wish they were doing that they're not. Yeah, bull, that would kind of work into, like, once again, like, having some degree of sound calculations happening on the map. Like a sound heat map. But that doesn't exist, right? I don't know anything, though, Nano. And trust me, considering like they release content monthly too, it's not like you guys have to wait very long anyway. I mean, we've had this talks before. You guys know how they don't really communicate on Discord? I'm not an exception to that rule. I don't have, there's not some like private Discord that they actually talk a lot on, and that's just how they are. I think, Brun, they've talked about it in the sense of the anniversary video. I would say go watch their anniversary video, Brun. They released like, what, 2 or 3 weeks ago? I believe they mentioned a comic book and probably the art book too. I would rather have a dev blog than a Q&A, Fuji. I think, from my perspective, if they don't like doing communication or they don't like doing Q&As, I think they can get better information across in a short dev blog than they can with a an actual Q&A. I still need the data cache too. If there's a grabber here, we're piecing the fuck out though. Think we're good? I don't hear a grabber. I don't see a grabber. Famous last words. Because like ultimately, Fuji, I don't. If you feel otherwise, please let me know because it'd be valuable information. I don't really think their Q&As ever said anything of substance at all. It was mainly just like cool stuff is coming for like 45 minutes. Cyril, I don't, generally speaking, no, but there's been weird instances with like one particular type of NPC where it feels like they can. It is not Clem. Oh, I mean, by and large, I mean, I don't, John. Sorry, not John. I mean, actually, no, John, yeah. Yeah, the Theaters of War thing is like, they added it into the game and it's entirely optional, and it does a few like interesting modifiers to certain maps, but they are like purely optional, basically. The problem I have is just like the trouble they cause are not worth the effort to go through them. There's an exit out here. They're not super impactful, and then like getting a shield officer or opals that you can't interact with, also just not worthwhile. And I don't think, like, I'm sure the faction control percentages are significant in some way, but not in a way I've really noticed just from passive play. Like, I haven't ever been able to like feel like, I haven't tried to track it, but it definitely doesn't feel like I can like just passively tell who's winning certain areas of war over periods of time. Yeah, it's basically it, John, if you want to get codexes and stuff like that. I want to kill former cyborgs and get my little thing. Let's go see if there's mechs in the trench lines over there. If there's medium mechs, I won't go over there, but if there's just regular mechs, or no mechs at all, go through it. I don't feel like getting accidentally melee stomped. Yeah, it's just a pain in the ass to run like to 3 different radar towers, and then like you don't really get anything amazingly useful off of it intel-wise. And the problem is too, Doomblade, it's one of those things also where I would probably be more likely to do it If you know it didn't exist, IRL timers. Like, if me doing a radar tower gave me like 25 runs of like, you have information, sure, I would probably engage at that. Yeah, this is not feeling great. Fuck it, we eat. But like, the fact that it only lasts for like 4 to 5 hours, or maybe longer now because I think they've changed it, it's not enticing, right? I by and large, maybe I will add the asterisks here, right? Of maybe we're just in an echo chamber, but I've never really seen anyone say they like adamantly love the IRL timer, or even like there's like occasionally a person here or there who will defend it, but even then, if it feels like they're more playing devil's advocate or being contrarian as opposed to actually defending it. I can't, it doesn't feel like anyone likes it. Maybe they're just too far gone where they can't change it, I guess. It'd be too impactful to the core systems to change it, which I guess shrug. Come on, I need... Wait, does that count? The Doomblade, like, there's definitely ways around it. The problem I have with it, though, is, like, I want systems that don't operate off the IRL timer, because there's lots of design space that you could do when you don't have it function off the IRL timer. You could bring Drain back if it didn't function off the IRL timer to add actually to like it wouldn't be good right now because like new players are already feeling bad from dying and like learning, but like if it ever gets to a good point of like, hey, you know, dying should have consequence, having IRL water drain and having, you know, your time in game pass from dying and having that drain water instantly adds a cost to dying. All right, I'm out of actual bullets here. Fuck it, we'll just leave. I don't know, Tempt. I can't. I don't know.
Hard run. At least we made it.
All right, so we have everything up to like level B unlocked now, and plenty of stuff. I will mention too, I know that like for those of you who have like older accounts and are grinding for construction material, I do think that the pain you're experiencing is partially RNG, but mainly because you didn't have a stockpile from getting to where you are beforehand, right? Because it's a new item. Because like on a newer account right now, let me go to a vendor. Just from like passively playing, right? Like I'm already gathering lots of like things like concrete powder. Where's my foam at too? Like I'm gathering lots of these things just passively. So by the time I get to the point where I would actually want to build those, it feels like I would have access to them, or at least be pretty close. It still might be overtuned though, right? But I definitely feel like if you were starting from a fresh account and like upgrading your innards more naturally and not already being near the end, it would probably be better. Yeah, once you get Tunnel D unlocked and have a few fast travel drones, you can basically keep up Tunnel D ad nauseum, as long as you just don't die. All right, let me go see how we're doing. I mean, if you're really wanting to do money grinding, you can just go at Exos, yeah. Oh, nice. So we need to actually build, I guess, the crafting terminal first. We need money though, right? I guess is the main thing. We need motors. We have everything else. Machine parts, motors, military power cells. Okay, just basically keep playing the game, I'm guessing. We can prestige you. On private, right? Yeah, perfect. So probably now we want to go to sea. Once we get sea unlocked, we can probably start doing Frozen Swamp for grinding fast travel drones. That's a remoter, sure, why not? We will be doing mech trench. If we have to leave a mech trench, we will, but ideally we cannot have to do that. Mech trench can be kind of a violent map, though. Do you have a silencer? You do. Nice Jeremiah. Yeah, I think they are aware downtown's a very poor performing map. So I'm sure they'll look into it if they can. By and large, they basically have this poor engineer. One of the biggest complaints early on, right, was performance, and naturally so. But like, this poor engineer's probably been stuck in the performance laboratory, or I guess the bunker, the basement, for like the last year, basically, probably. Constantly just working on performance related things.
I think they spotted us.
All right, let's focus mainly on speed here. I don't feel very safe right now. I don't think I can get up this way. I think I need to go around the other way. One thing I'll note that kind of hurts stealth is that when enemies are patrolling, they do this thing where they because it's not intentional, but from their pathing, they occasionally will turn around their vision cones, and because they'll see you when they're doing this kind of weird twisty turny thing, even when they're patrolling in a straight line, they will turn and then spot you with their vision code. Yeah, there is definitely some issues with their inertia too. The enemy AI does feel a bit snappy. They don't feel like they have a lot of weight in regards to their turning left and right. Yeah, they definitely are. They're trying to maintain formation to the point of over rigidity. So it doesn't feel very natural. Yeah, I think by and large, outside the weird FPS drops on downtown sometimes, I think Elephant's probably like my worst performing map still. Like there's definitely weird areas like on Stairway where FPS drops a ton, but I wouldn't really consider that like the average for the map, just weird areas of like where it's just got an issue.
Wake up.
Alright, so we don't really need anything here. We can probably kill some Eurasians if we really want to. But we'll find plenty of those probably on Mech Trench. But the big thing, I want to get Frozen Swamp unlocked, so I can probably start grinding fast travel drones. Ideally, we can do runs where we go up to Frozen Swamp, do fast travel drone stuff, and then leave from there. We don't need to go to Tunnel D yet, just yet. Probably just looking for water here. We could do lockboxes too, but I'm not really sure if I'm that desperate for money.
Hey, I live for this.
Yeah, two's fine for now. There is one quest you can do on, you can do the Water Wars quest on Frozen Swamp, and that will give you lots of water and a fast travel drone as a reward. It is, to my knowledge, the only quest in the game that will give you a fast travel drone. I mean, you know, I'm not usually going to advocate for if I want to advocate for a bug being in the game, I just don't mention it, because then they won't fix it. Other people report it too, like, by and large, they probably know it exists, but it's probably very low on the docket of things to fix. And to be fair, like, I've already told them I don't think looting's in a good spot right now. If you disagree with me, please let me know. I genuinely think there is too much looting in this game currently. Or rather, let me rephrase the way I actually worded it. I think people spend too much time in the container menu.
We should have chosen another exit.
And the problem with all my suggestions, or the problem with my design critiques is it always feels like my design critiques come way too far along in their development. Like, there's almost no fucking shot they fully rework this, or fully rework loot, because they're too far along. Same thing with the UI too, right? And like, even as Miles said in his anniversary video, it's time to, like, they have the bones now it's time to start doing the meat, I guess. I mean, I can't be, I usually don't really lean into bugs that much unless they're just like so easy to do that you just do the, like, yeah, I don't have a problem if you do, but like, I don't generally engage with bugs unless I absolutely have to. Or if they're actually fun. I mean, there's lots of bugs like that, right? Like, for example, I consider it a bug, but the fucking bushes on Frozen Swamp. That feels like a bug to me.
I have a regular AK, right? Yeah, there might be some ammo here.
But like, this, like, maybe I'm just too picky, but I don't really particularly enjoy, like, this doesn't feel satisfactory to me. This, like, the bags and the looting and just like, there's so much about it that just does not feel satisfactory. And I'll say that, like, it was the same about Arc Raiders 2, right? Like, I did this, like, Arc Raiders 2, the looting in Arc Raiders is kind of unsatisfactory also. I did like the fact that some of their containers will actually have, like, animations play, but by and large, there's so many of them that just have this same kind of, like, hit E on container and then see loot inventory. And it feels so utterly detached.
This is what it's all for.
Like, it seems small, but the actual process of looting in Tarkov, when you go up to a body and you hit E and you see their inventory, that extra element of UI where you're seeing their slots and their bodies and like their helmet, their chest, so on and so forth, and you're searching each part of their body, like, sure, it's gamified to hell and back, but it does feel way better, right? It makes you feel like you're, okay, I'm searching the body for certain gear, I see their gun, I see their X, Y, and Z, I'm looting their pockets now. As opposed, like, if you just replaced that on Tarkov with this UI, it would feel way worse. Alright, I actually think that was Elephant. We need to go back the way we came, I think, actually. Which means this patrol will probably be back.
Ah, stop hurting me.
Calculations.
Okay, thank God they're still dead. I don't know. I think I'm not sure. I wouldn't put them on that. But like, yeah, but like that's sort of the thing, right? That's why extraction shooters work. Is that because there's that friction, right? And I do watch Ko. I can't remember his full name, but Ko occasionally. I saw a short of Ko talking about Arc Raiders, and I think he's just getting into it. I'm curious if his tone changes, because I genuinely kind of disagree with his tone of Arc Raiders, of like how it's the next generation of extraction shooter. I think it's vastly, it's a streamlined extraction shooter, but because it's streamlined, it actually loses why extraction shooters work. See you, Michael. Hey, chill guy. No, yeah, I'm aware of the bug. John, the main thing is it's just, it's a pretty mid to high budget extraction shooter coming out soon. Thanks, Vinny, appreciate it. The biggest thing though is it's been getting lots of, hold on. The main thing with Arc Raiders is that it's been given a lot of publicity, or it's got a lot of marketing behind it. And because of its pretty large marketing budget, at least it seems like it has one. It's been covered by a lot of streamers, lots of press. It's been like in like multiple different like closed betas or alphas and stuff like that for the last couple of years too. And they're just about to release. I don't think it's. I think, like I said, I do not think it's gonna fall on its ass. But I think it's gonna like probably go down to like 10k concurrence. The gameplay in Arc Raiders is polished enough and it's robust enough where I think it will attract attention. Sort of like Hunt Showdown, right? Like Hunt Showdown, I would think is kind of it's not my cup of tea for a game either, but like Hunt Showdown definitely did to appeal to a certain kind of audience, right? Am I not supposed to go up there? Oh, yeah, definitely not. That's a void. Yeah, JK, it takes a bit. So I think Arc Raiders is a fine game, but I like it essentially feels like a very well made but ultimately generic and kind of soulless extraction shooter, which some people will be fine with, right? Some people just want that like robust, well polished gameplay, and I think that's who it appeals to. But I really hope it's not like the new baseline for extraction shooters, because I think it's derivative, and it's also too not simplistic. I don't want to say simplistic's the wrong word. It feels like it doesn't do anything interesting at all with the genre. It does a lot of refinement, but ultimately it's just not interesting in regards to game design or gameplay, right? Like there's no game systems in Arc Raiders where like that's novel or new or interesting, and it has a lot of the design issues of the thing it mostly took from the cycle. Like, it has borrowed very heavily from the Cycle Frontier in regards to its extraction shooter design, and you can see it, and it also suffers for it. In the few rounds I put in Arc Raiders, there was an extract camper every single time. Now, did they actually kill me? No, but they were there. I hear drones. You know, see drones. Oh, no, they're there. Okay, there's one, there's two. How did that hit me? Man, clusters feel like a fucking trap now. Sanix, by and large, it depends, right? It depends on how much is the value of money to you in regards to its cost. Are you okay with like unrefined gameplay? Do you really like the art style? I personally love early access games, so like and the art style, so I'm completely on board, and I would say it's worth it. But if you get frustrated insanely easily, I would say hold off for now. If you're someone who plays an unrefined game and gets angry at it, don't play it. If you are someone who gets angry at like the game occasionally just killing you out of just jank, don't play it. But if you're okay with those things and you want an experience and you want something that's kind of novel, sure, go ahead and pull the trigger. Because that's ultimately why, for example, I even told Miles, I think like yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago, that like, hey, you know, I'm very glad you guys did not do PvP, because it adds literally nothing to Arc Raiders. And it includes a bunch of other issues, right? Like, you're not gonna see it right now, but give it a month and I would not be surprised to see the normal content loop of YouTube or just creators in general start talking about like the flaws in Arc Raiders. It might take them a month or two to like fully get there because they're on the hype train right now, and gotta be positive to, you know, for lots of different reasons I don't need to get into right now, or I could, but just thanks, Captain. But like, give it a month. I would not be surprised to start seeing some of the creators that are very gung-ho right now start talking about the game negatively. Or not negatively, but critically. I like PvP in certain formats. I like PvP, but it needs to have integrity. I like PvP, but it like there needs to be serious design considerations for that PvP. If your goal in PvP is to lean on flavor of the month, I typically do not like that type of game. So like, for example, most asymmetrical games lean heavily into that flavor of the month, like League. Hey, Destiny. I do really like the tunnels. They have issues here and there, but by and large, I really like the tunnels, yes. I think it's ultimately like the first actually, out of all of the patches we got, I would consider this to be the first actually substantial patch. Not to diminish the other patches, but they were small potatoes in comparison. All right, so we're plug pull. We are hack the servers, and we need to find the mech part. Mech part's gonna be over to the left, probably. I mean, John, I have plenty of fun in PvP in like games like Counter-Strike by myself. I mean, with a team, but like, you know, solo queue. But like, hold on. I think Milsim. I am actually somewhat nostalgic for like Raven Shield type of PvP, but I will say though too, okay, so Raven Shield, I need to actually use Raven Shield, an old Tom Clancy game. It's Rainbow Six, like it was like Rainbow Six 3, I think, Raven Shield, and it was like, you know, the round based sort of like PvP, right, of like somewhat milsim because it was Rainbow Six. It wasn't like arcadey, it wasn't like kind of like arcadey like the new one is. But the thing about Raven Shield though is it had plenty of like mod or like custom maps and support like that. So like you could have a very non-serious game and a tactical game. But I think a very formal game like that, like if Ready or Not did it and made it very formal without like full mod support, full customization, yeah, it would not do well. Like the only reason I played Raven Shield as much as I did because Raven Shield had like custom maps that were really fun. Back when Ubisoft was not utter shit. Man, that was a fucking time. Fucking respawns, man. Captain, I mean, it could be, according to the game, if you just go 10 years into the future, it's 10 years in the future. Just set your clock 10 years in the future, man. That's actually a good find. Like lockup or stutter? Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of assuming you mean stuttering. The way I would generally recommend is there are some maps where you can't avoid it, like downtown, but by and large, JK, if you have an NVIDIA card, hold on. If you have an NVIDIA card, increase your shader cache size. That can help alleviate issues on your GPU. Oh, I'm not familiar, no. I enjoy Helldivers too, but it's not a game I can like continually play for long periods of time. Sanix, is my mic fucking up right now, or are you just saying that actually, like, genuinely? There is the concern sometimes NVIDIA broadcast can freak the fuck out. Though generally speaking, when NVIDIA broadcast freaks the fuck out, you can tell very quickly because you'll just be straight redlined. Stop the respawns. Generally, oh man. There are certain ways of doing feedback through your microphone if you want to make it really bad on purpose. Arrowhead has their own engine. Well, sorry, it's not their engine, but they did buy it from, I think, Vermintide's engine. No, Helldivers 2 is not UE5. Helldivers 2 runs off a proprietary engine. I think it's like the Swarm engine, if I recall. It was purchased. Did they just spawn the fucking corner? And the fucking respawns this game, man. Yeah, Helldivers 2 uses a very old engine. It was used for the OG Vermintide, if I recall correctly. It's been repurposed for their game, but it's an older engine. I think they make noises sometimes, but I think it's very heavily muffled. None of the NPCs have like fully VO'd voice lines or anything like that. Like you'll hear this right now, like the voice comm chatter, but it's just like ambient noise. It's not really them communicating at all or emulating communication. If I recall correctly, they purchased it from the Vermintide devs, and it's a repurposed version of that. Vermintide 1. I'm not sure if Vermintide 1 and 2 use the same engine or not. But it is far from UE5. And considering what like they were set out to do, using an engine like that, it does make sense considering, you know, Swarm game and then other Swarm game. Hey, Nevius. The stamina bar at this point, it's to the point where it's forgettable. Like, the fact that you just mentioned it now is like, I forgot it existed until you mentioned it. It was over-tuned at first because of some issues with how they did weight. They fixed that, and now it's better. But it's been tuned to the point where you can widely ignore it. Alright, where's your squad? You usually have a squad. Personally, like, I don't really like the easy come, easy go mechanic of it, just because I want it, like, I want it to actually matter, but I don't want it to be overbearing. So I want it to be more strategic in nature. The way I view it is it could probably be the perfect abstraction of like thirst and hunger and stamina all together in one. I don't like the sound effect playing. Okay, you're not aggroed yet. Okay, now it's aggro. We might not be going this way. Where's my mech parts at? Aren't they... There's usually a destroyed mech somewhere where you can pick up the parts at. And drop one of these, because I'll need to actually drop it. It does, but it takes you a decent while before it actually starts affecting it. Like, if you fill up a pack mule, yeah, you're gonna start feeling your pack mule. But if you're just running a smaller rig, you generally won't feel it. Back part. There we go. All right. I had to go back around though. I don't think they do. I don't think rigs have a weight associated with them. If it do, it's only like 1 kilo. I think they're supposed to have a weight, but I don't think they actually calculate toward the weight, because they're not calculated in the bar themselves. Like if you spawn with nothing but a rig on, your weight will be 0. I think we're good. Go the other way. This is why we can't have nice things, because Exos just don't want to fucking patrol. Chill guy, they basically they said they won't. They'll do stuff like you know, trophies maybe on characters, but they won't do like full character customization at all. Sorta, kind of. The AI is always a bit janky sometimes. It's hard to say what's new and what's old. Alright, definitely heard some of your opens over here. It drives me insane that drones have no weak spots. Absolutely insane. Yeah. I'll pick up you, because I have an empty slot.
Oh, this is what it's all for.
Alright, time for some hacking. Let's see here. Boop, boop. Think it's this one. Be the other one though. Alright, every quest except for Erosion Rages is now done. I think we will go to tunnel. We could just run through Frozen Swamp though, just to get it unlocked. I don't have that much loot actually. We can go through Tunnel C. Be free. Like, yeah, like a charm or like a cosmetic on your character, but like it's not like character customization, it's more like a trophy. Like, let's say for example you killed a shield officer, you maybe get like a pauldron.
I just went with AK, maybe yeah, AK plus USP, just to have a sidearm I can actually use. And there's a few quests that regard saving civilians.
Has our luck run out?
Alright, this is my first time in Tunnel C on this character, so we have whatever this gen is. Did I see your fire? Ah, whatever. Probably looking for more meds, I would think. Don't think I need black lights at all. There's a few maps that have them. Scrapyard can have them civilians too. Scorched Enclave can have civilians also.
Give a shot count.
All right. Quest's done. I actually wouldn't mind IFFs. IFFs have been a pretty good way of making money. It definitely seems like most of the loot, like the container items, are not worth that much anymore. Unless it's the older items. All of the newer items basically seem, but they're basically worth not that much. So you're trying to make money. Murdering enemies seems to be the way to go still. Yeah, I mean, they can do a lot of stuff with the tunnels, right, in regards to more NPC-based encounters. I think they would be very hard for them to do NPC encounters on the surface without having the maps just be non-spawned with enemies. Because the maps are so dense with enemies right now, like, where are we going to put NPCs at that won't murder you on the spot? Oh yeah, this is this tile, right? This is that end over here. They'll probably be used eventually. I think you use a lot of them for earlier crafts, probably. I hear a drone. Which drone are we having? Alright, drone's dead. So many power cells. I remember like on my main account, power cells being one of the limiting factors for drones. I have so many fucking power cells right now. By the point I actually get to like farming fast travel drones or components for them, I'm not gonna have a issue with power cells for a very long time, I feel like. On my main account, it's motors and power cells. Like, the other half of that is definitely motors. I think this might be a dead end if I recall correctly on this set. We'll still go exploring things, but I'm pretty sure this is a dead end. Plenty of loot to be had, but I think a dead end. Yeah, this is ringing a lot of bells, actually. Well, I think, John, the thing is like the fast travel drone recipe requires more power cells. So the motors are rare, but I think you need less of them for the drones, if I recall correctly. Nope, jumping them all forever and always. Hey, Beep, how's it going? I think I got plenty of you, but I'll still pick you up. I mean, it'd be cool, right, Chill? But I think it's just like one of those things where it feels so... It feels like it would be cool, but not necessary for the core loop right now. That just needs utter refinement. So it just takes a backseat.
Whittle them down and we can break out.
It definitely feels like one of those things that's like it's gonna take a backseat for long enough where it gets forgotten. Thanks for the raid light. Everything's fine, don't worry, guys. I missed. Was there one more? Am I crazy? Nope. Alright, we're good. It's on ADS. Yeah, the gun is always on ADS. Thanks, Light. Appreciate it. Ah, we got a motor. Yeah, it's definitely one of those weird things, Nano. It's one of those things where like, why do they do it this way? Hey, GW. Yeah, I'm pretty sure both ends of this way are dead. Like, one of the tile sets has this where like this little corridor is a dead end. I'm not sure if it's this one or Tunnel C. It might be Tunnel C. Thanks, GW. I am absolute terrible at self-promotion or just general YouTube shit. If I recall correctly, there should be a door down here, and on this other door should be like the tall room, like the. It's not very deep, but it should be like that, like the very, very tall room with the two side corridors. I'll point out what I'm talking about. Yeah, this one, the tall and straight. Sometimes a patrol in here too. Sometimes, not always. I mean, it's definitely one of those things that seems cool, but like one of those things I would never bother with because it's optional and really expensive and just seems like a bitch and a half to craft or grind for. It's one of those items in the game for people who really want to grind the game for something, right? Which is nice that it exists, right, for those people. Do I need any of this stuff? I don't think so. But like, no, like this is, it kind of, you know what it kind of feels like? It honestly in some ways feels like we're seeing like every potential spawn for a container on these maps sometimes. Don't get me wrong, I like the loot here, right? But I don't like having to go through like 7 containers to get to all of it, right? Or just, it's so much time on the looting. Yeah, I do both, just because I know some people prefer Twitch over YouTube. So I do, I just multi-stream to it. It essentially just makes your stamina more efficient, John. So basically, like, when you're doing, like, sprinting or jumping, you use less stamina. So effectively, you have more. Alright, let's see if this is a dead end or not over here. I think it is. I think we're far enough away where we probably got respawns here, too. We'll have to take a gander. Yeah, that's the whole problem with, like, easy come, easy go, Nano, is, like, no matter what, even if you increase it, like, by 50%, it's still not a whole lot. Yeah, it takes up a slot, like, yeah, it takes up one of these slots. And so if you die, you lose it. So, like, a hard-to-craft item for a marginal benefit that you can lose. I'm good. Alright, I think this is a dead end, too, over here. Is it? I might be thinking about Tunnel C, or one of the variants for Tunnel C. Oh no, it's definitely, this might actually be a dead end. I'm gonna be so sad in a second. Oh, maybe not. Oh no, we're actually good. This will take us down there. Perfect. Ignore the text. Don't look at the text. Alright, we're pretty late in this point. We need to make sure we get a good sprint going. Come on. Sir? There we go. Don't look at the text. Be immersed. Yeah, it is. Like I said, it's a nice item to exist because it gives people a chase item who want to chase it, but ultimately it just doesn't do anything for me. Yeah, apparently that's leftover text from procedural generation, I think. According to, I think, Michael was saying that. I don't know, to be honest, but apparently if you use NVIDIA's, like, or not NVIDIA's, but Epic's, like, procedural generation, that's part of, that comes with that, is that text. Yay, no doubling back. Please be a good map. Don't make me suffer.
Keep it together, man. Keep it together.
Maybe it's like it's frozen. It's frozen swamp or stairway, I think, on this. We'll see. We have ammo. Freaking containers. That's a great question. There are so many skulls down here, Striker, I can't help but feel that, like, they're not actually real skulls. It's just that the, what I'm guessing what happened is that there's robots down here, right, that help build out the tunnels or repair the tunnels or, like, build out stuff. And what I'm guessing what happened with these drones or these construction bots is during the actual war or other areas, they were trained on data of seeing just dead bodies and skulls around. So all of the bodies and skulls down here are actually just these bots reproducing those skulls and bodies from their memory, and not because they're actually down here. Or like they came down here naturally. Ah, god damn it, it's stairway. So it's literally like 3D printing bots doing a grimdark aesthetic because that's what the data they were trained on.
Wake up, rinse and repeat. Stay alive.
That'd be a beautiful Easter egg beep beep of just like a spirit Halloween down here. I do believe, further peer-to-peer grading, I do believe they use Epic Game Services. So yeah, I do believe you can probably play between the two. I would think you would have to probably use the in-game browser for lobbies, I'd imagine. And not like Steam Friends, because naturally that wouldn't work between the two. But I'm sure it works between the two, as long as you use the in-game browser. Now, peer-to-peer, your results will always vary, but like as long as you guys have low ping, it should be mostly fine. Exactly, Van, right? They equate that like the building needs skulls to function, despite it not being so. We're not gonna stay here for very long. We're just gonna run through this map, basically. I don't really feel like inviting death. This has been a pretty decent run so far, and got a lot of loot I don't want to lose. Which is the foundation for Gear Fear. The run's gotta be long enough, and the stuff's gotta be good enough to the point where you don't want to actively lose any of it. Whoa, fuddy. Oh, hey, Toothy. Oh yeah, they can actually kill each other now. No sound effects yet, though. I don't want to get shot in the side of the head. If only I had a drill. Let's keep moving. I have no idea, Patrick. I don't think the codexes. I think that it only happens when you pick him up, I think. Persistent HKs through maps would be fucking cursed. Where the fuck was I getting shot from? Oh, up there. Holy shit. Where the fuck are y'all coming from? Did you just jump? Did
Did he just parkour down? No, that's the issue right now, is it just seems that, like, the sync kills for the mechs play the second they're in proximity to each other. And so, because those spawns are so close, it happens very quickly. They did talk about eventually, like, making it like rock, paper, scissors, right? It's just that it seems like right now their core functionality is making sure that each unit has a sync kill. It is chugging. I thought they fixed this. I guess it's kind of fixed. It's not really. Good old fucking stairway. Never change, stairway, never change. No, yeah, I'm not a fan of this insta kills, the sync kills with no counterplay. It does feel ultimately kind of cheap. All right, we're extracting. We're not going tunnel D.
Another day. Ooh. Another reason to stay alive.
That'd be, I mean, I'd be surprised if you could even make it all the way home with a dog in tow. That seems like a challenge. All right, let's see if we got any unlocks to do. We're probably pretty too low in water, I imagine, for most of these still. Let me see. They only want 20 days. Oh, we're missing machine parts. Interesting. And money. Money's the big part. This is the main one we want. It's this one right here, the special crafting, which is machine parts and money. Let's go do some trading, ideally. Vendors, Grillo. Probably looking to sell IFFs, I imagine. Anything else is just too cheap mass sell, really. Go. The alternative, I guess, is killing or watching medium X die. This is not bad money, though. I remember seeing machine parts, I think. Ooh, level 3. Yeet. I think they just spawn on the earlier maps and containers. Like Scorched Enclave or Mesa. I think they're probably in the common loot pool, which actually seems to be somewhat uncommon because it's probably, I imagine what's happening is that they might have a very large common loot pool of lots of different items, and the machine parts are in there. But like, let's say for example, it usually works out to like, let's say 75, 25, like 5 and 1 for like, you know, common, uncommon, rare, and very rare. If the common loot pool is so big, it could make it honestly worse percentage-wise for drop rates than say uncommon or rare, depending on the size of the actual table. Let's go do, I guess, some quick runs on Mesa, I guess. How much water we got? We probably shouldn't waste water by not... I mean, actually, if we're willing to do some quests on Scorched Enclave, we can pay for our entry fee and also bring water out. That should work. So this will only really suck if we die. I need 545. But if we live, we should, and do most of our quests and gather water, we should be okay. It should pay for our entry fee. So we can just spam Scorched Enclave a bit. I should bring a drill too, just in case. Oh, that's a good call. I always forget about that. Yeah, I am playing on a new account, Future. I wiped last stream. So the last stream was the first time on this account. So we're very, very low level right now.
Breathe up here. But the mask helps.
So mainly kill lots of Eurasians, kill EOD troops if we see them. And other than that, just get water, and ideally we're looking for crate containers here to like just try to see if we can get the middle stuff. But I would not say no to grenade launchers. I do need to find the officer.
Should head home.
He's dead. That pit looks kind of scary, I'm not gonna lie.
Check those corners.
No, Toothy's a terrible bodyguard. Absolutely trashed your bodyguard. Toothy just never defends the guy at all. Ooh, a jerry can we're not gonna probably use. It depends. If you really like the art style, definitely. It's still very... It really depends on your tolerance for early access and jank. The game is early access enough where it is true early access, and it is rough around the edges. And if you are easily frustrated, I would say hold off. But if you're into the art, if you like kind of early access games, if you like the extraction shooter kind of loop, I would recommend it. I would say look, the performance can be kind of wishy-washy depending on your machine. So I would do some research on like if other people are having issues on your rig or on your settings. It is a UE5 game, so it does have like kind of a bottom line in regards to like what your specs need to be to actually support the game. It's okay. So, Dags, I will mention one thing. I'll answer your question too, don't worry. I will mention one thing. Whenever you see, like, newer reviews for, a patch, right? Whenever you see the most recent reviews for a patch, it's always important to keep in mind, right? The people who do not like the patch are way more likely to go write a negative review now because they don't like the patch. It's always a thing with reviews, right? You're almost usually more inclined to see negative reviews if your product has a lot more issues, because like people are more likely to go write negative reviews than positive reviews, by and large. So the people, there's a few different complaints going on in regards to, I would say, the tunnels patch, right? There's the two ones I'll break down is that first, the people do not like the fact that the tunnels are kind of like not letting them choose how to play the game they want to. And in that regard, it's kind of whatever happens when you have a very like early game that's kind of a test branch. Essentially, the way to put it is that the devs are now organizing the game into being a game, and it's less freeform now. And so the people who really enjoyed being able to do what they want whenever they wanted had that control taken away, and so they're upset. And it's not an invalid complaint on their part, right? But it is part of the process of the devs actually turning the game into a game. That being said, Tunnels does have its issues, but that's always going to happen with a patch like this. The other complaint mostly is that the tunnels introduce a platforming element into the game that some players do not like. I tried to replicate this to the best of my extent. The movement in the early game as you learn the game is rough, but to basically equate any jumping into a game, making that game into a platformer is really just awful, an awful argument. Essentially, I tried seeing if their complaints are valid. I don't think they are valid for the most part, or at least the way they're structuring them. A game asking you to do a few jumps does not make that game a platformer. Now, the game does have, like, there are issues in regards to the movement through tunnels. Yes, but I would not say they're platforming issues. They're more of just movement issues or mantling issues in general. So yeah, like that's the two main things I saw in the recent Tunnels reviews is those two things. People don't like the control taken away from them, which is fair, but it's always going to be a friction point when you do something like this. And the second is platforming, which I don't really agree with. I need to find more containers to actually loot down here. Yeah, and like, one of the core elements of extraction shooters is like the gear fear or the intensity of raids as you start gathering stuff and wanting to live. If there's never an underlying fear of survival in an extraction shooter, I think you're not an extraction shooter anymore, really. And the tunnels was necessary to facilitate that. Because the maps themselves, these bespoke, like this map is a bespoke map, right? It is hand-tailored and handmade, and all of their main maps are like this, but they're not very substantive on regards to playtimes. They don't take you very long to go through. The longer maps you might be able to spend 20 minutes on at most if you really genuinely try to spend the most possible time on that map. And that's not generally conducive to making you feel like high risk, high reward. Or like not even high risk, like it removes the intensity from each individual raid, right? You don't really have gear fear when you die and you run it back, and it's like a 5-minute investment. Because like people, like for example, Scorched Enclave was a farmer's map before, like this map we're on right now, and you could like loot this map and run through it in 5 minutes or less. And so if you died in a few of those, it was no big deal, which undermined any gear fear at all, really. Where are all my containers at? I'll take... I could reset the spawns maybe here if it still exists or that still happens. Let me try over here, I guess. I don't think that there is like one room in the tile sets of tunnels where I can understand the complaint of like the platforming is too much. And I would not be against them adding alternate routes or alternate ways through that tile. I do think that's like
there are shortcomings with tunnels, 100%, but those shortcomings aren't bespoke or aren't just to tunnels themselves. Those shortfalls are to all of the levels. I believe it mitigates or stops the aerial spawns on this map. It might stop the chopper. Toothy over there is still chilling. No problem, Dags. All right. Yeah, and that is something I raised to them, right? I think and that's the important distinction, right? Is that like it's very important to try to condense, I think, your pain point or like issues into like the root fundamental like actual issue at hand here. And I do ultimately agree. I think overall players spend too much time in tunnels in proportion to actual maps. And you could break that down even farther into why are people spending more times in tunnels? Because I would actually say a lot of it is because the risk-reward balance is way off. Like, and there's so many loot containers and tunnels you're gonna spend so much time into, right? We should do Mesa instead of Scorch, because Scorch is not... There's not a lot of containers on Scorched, but like, yeah, like... Because you could break down... I could honestly make an argument that part of the issue with tunnels, right, is that there's so much loot in tunnels that you feel like you need to loot. Naturally, that's going to lend you with more time being spent in tunnels than you would normally spend on the surface. And navigation might be part of it too, but like by and large, when there's like 6 containers every every fucking tile, you probably feel very heavily inclined to actually loot all of those. I wouldn't say though, like, by and large, Striker, once you learn how the tiles work, it should not take you 40 minutes to go through them. Like, at a certain point, you do know that, like, once you know the tile sets or have an idea that the tile sets work, it's going to take you, like, 5 to 10, if that, to get through them if you really want to. If you're stopping the loot, it'll take you a lot longer. If you're just trying to get through them, you might take 5 minutes. At most. Yeah. And that for newer players, it will take them a lot longer than players who played a lot longer, right? It will be slower as they're learning movement, and that's kind of the problem too of tunnels when you're just like introducing new players to tunnels, is asking them to both do exploration and like locomotion movement at the same time and combat at the same time. Like it's layering too many systems on them at once, it feels like. Like, you have the issues of learning how to move in the game properly, which is rough in this game. You're asking them to learn combat in this game, potentially up to Exos too, or unkillables. You're asking them also to do, like, limited amounts of parkour or jumping or movement stuff. And actual exploration too, right? It's asking a lot of newer players. All right, let's go do Mesa. What's the exact thing called I need to find here? Yeah, I think the problem is like I'll go to like there's so many things that would be nice for them to work on. It's just yeah. Oh, machine parts, machines we're looking for. Machine parts. Let's go over to Mesa and see if we can get lucky there. We did pay for our water cost, so that was nice. But no, the UI, just like having to scroll wheel or like click through consumables is always not fun. Oh, 100%. I think there's a lot of space to explore there, but so weirdly enough, the way I would solve the issue beep of players spending too much time in tunnels is not making tunnels quicker, but making it so that when you get through your tunnels, you can do more than one raid outside of those tunnels, right? I've talked about this before, right? But like my literal idea is like, so when you leave tunnels A, you go from the innards to tunnels A, right? After tunnels A, you go to a scavenger camp. And then from that scavenger camp, you can do 3 or 4 things depending on how they want to do it, if they want to do this. You can go to tunnels B, you can go to Mesa, you can go to Enclave. And if you go do Enclave or Mesa, what you can do is go back to the scav camp from Scorched or Mesa, and then go run them again if you want to. And so for people who want to run a single map or a few different maps back to back, they can do that, right? And they can stockpile loot at those scav camps. Because what that means is you don't have to remove or diminish tunnels in any way for people who like that, but you give the people who do not want to have tunnels be a large portion of their maps a way of running multiple maps that aren't tunnels at the like over and over again. Without having to pay like extra costs, right, for fast travel. So like if you have a scav camp at Tunnel D, right, you can go run like Cemetery downtown, Babel over and over again for a few times if you want to. And that'd be an easy way of doing night shifts too, right? Like that could be the downside of doing that approach is like, hey, you know, you can go do this scav camp idea of you go to the scav camp and you run maps back to back, but you're going to see time pass doing that. You're gonna have to do the occasional night shift if you do that. And there could be other risks and rewards for doing so, right? But overall, it would be a way of potentially reducing the proportion of time spent in tunnels for people who do not want to spend that much time in tunnels. And ultimately, too, like one big thing we haven't done yet, or haven't seen yet from them, is that I want the journey back to be part of the equation. But I understand why in the current system that's not a thing. It'd be double dipping too much. Okay, so we're looting containers with this map. We didn't loot containers, actually. Let me go back. Like, right now, if you ask players to go all the way to downtown, loot, and head back to the innards, that would, like, by doing the same system in reverse, that'd be double dipping way too much. But as part of a different system where like there's a scavenger camp in between, I think potentially journeys back would be interesting, at least for me. Though I might not be the majority here, which is I perfectly accept. No, leave me alone. Yeah, Nathaniel, Nathan, it's usually like hitting E twice, I believe, if I recall correctly, while you're mid-loot. All right, let me go ahead and heal. So like, yeah. I can't remember, like, I can do it inconsistently. I think you need to, like, is it like lock your FPS or something like that to do it? I can't recall. There's some weird quirk about it. I know how to do it, but I can't do it consistently, so I just don't bother. I think it's like opening it twice, like hitting E twice basically very quickly, but I think it doesn't work very well on unlimited FPS. Yeah, I'm hoping Futura that we actually see like more sound effects. Like I really like the new sound effects for cyborgs. I hope we see that kind of on the NPCs like that are unkillables, that, like, you know, sparks and sound effects. They kind of show that your bullets aren't actually doing damage. We do have this might be insider info, but fuck it. I don't think it's supposed to be insider info. It's just supposed to be like, we're gonna, like, I think this is what people are supposed to figure this out natively, but if you see only one hit mark, so you see that there's like 2 on each side, right? Like the two what's it called? I guess arrows.
if there's only one, or if it's like very thin, I'll shoot a mech if I see a mech. I'll show you. Essentially, there is an indicator for it, like hit indicators that kind of is supposed to tell you that you're not doing damage. I don't think it's very clear though, but like it's something. Let's see if we can find a mech that actually shoot. It's clear as mud though. So like that indicator there. So so yeah, the lines instead of the actual. We got so many fucking mechs. The lines there instead of the actual diamond or the arrow is apparently supposed to tell you that you're not doing damage. But once again, clear as mud. So apparently, like, that's the UI indicator of like, hey, you're hitting something, but you're not doing damage. I kind of like Shovelhead Maskman the most, to be honest. I actually think what they need to do is do Shovelhead Maskman that has its own special melee attack, where it is a peck. I mean, yeah, I think it's just a bandwidth thing right now, beep beep, really. It does seem with the new Cyborg sound effects that that's probably their intent, is to add stuff like that. It's just bandwidth. That is like, it is the blessing and curse of monthly patches, right? With a small dev team, is that, like, you know, they're pushing out lots of content, but if what they're doing in a period of time is not not in consideration of that content, it's not getting touched. I probably need to stop killing some. I've been killing a lot of people so far. I need to be kind of careful. I have no idea. I mean, technically speaking, like, we are assuming there will be an October patch, right? If they ever break the cadence of monthly patches, like, I would be surprised if they tell us. Fucking goddamn. Actually, one big thing, like, I would actually, oh god, there are so many big things I want them to work on. Like, I would like that would claim high priorities, but one absolutely, if I had to put it at the top of my list, I think I still would. Probably because it doesn't, I don't think it requires all that much work to actually do. They need to add better sound effects for units moving around the map. The cyborgs are too criminally silent as they move around. They are literally noiseless machines. It is insane how little noise they make when sprinting. So the big things, beep beep is looting, looting, sound effects for the AI. I have a list actually fucking on a notepad somewhere that I can't pull up right now because I'm not sure if there's private stuff in those notepad files that I can't really share. My notepad plus plus,
I am usually very organized when it comes to like Chrome tabs. I won't have more than like 3 or 4 open. I cannot say that the same for Notepad++. I have like 100 tabs of various items in Notepad++ that I really should organize it one day in the future. It ain't great. But looting is one of them. Another thing is like, oh god. Another thing is too is that like there's lots of objects that like they eventually they need to do it, but they kind of need to go object by object and check out the collision boxes on them. There are too many objects in the game that have collision boxes way bigger than their actual like mesh should have. Like for the longest time, like these had collision boxes in between these two, so like that's something they need to do for lots of different things. Granted, it's not totally important, but like it is part of onboarding new players. It's not like it's stuff like that. Those collision boxes is causes new players to feel frustrated and quit without being able to explain why they feel frustrated, right? You're like, my bullets aren't hitting. It's like the gunplay is terrible. It's things you'll hear from these players, right? But actually what they're experiencing is they're experiencing weird shit like that when there's collision boxes on like things that shouldn't have them. I think I brought up to them that like once again they are very well aware of like how bad the new player experience is. So like they are aware. When they decided to work on it, it's up to them, right? But like they know that it's rough for new players. I haven't actually found what I needed yet from here. I wonder if one of the medium maps is better for this than this one. I'm kind of curious myself, JJ too, Greg, because if the anniversary video is anything to go by, they said that like now is the time for adding meat to the bones. I think is what they used. So I'm guessing we're just like we'll see what that entails in the October patch if it's like about refinement and like blowing out content. Okay. If it's about refinement and blowing out content as opposed to adding more content, like expanding current loops as opposed to like and polishing current loops as opposed to adding extra content. Yeah, beep beep. I am both hopeful but also so concerned. Because when I say I want an HK rework, I don't want them to twist that into let's make HKs worse. I do feel like, I'm gonna be honest right now, I don't think they have a lot of leeway in regards to how more draconian they could make the game in this current shell. Like, I do think if they add a very difficult mechanic to the current game, it is going to break the player base. And not in the way of like player counts, but more in the sense of like the people are gonna be like, you just can't make a fun game. I don't, if the word used was actually like making HK's nightmare fuel, we'll have to see. I'm hoping they don't mean mechanical nightmare fuel.
Because like HKs were already overbearing and they had to nerf them to the ground because they were overbearing. And now so they still exist right now, but they're just annoying occasionally, and sometimes it's just a scheduled loss from the dog. Like, the concern being is that a lot of their systems don't have counterplay, or don't have very nuanced counterplay. And so if they just add a save or suck an HK into the game, it would not probably feel very good. Snowman will probably be on for another hour. I'll probably do one more big run after this. I mean, the biggest thing is that I just like, for the HK rework, all I really want to see is like it to feel like HKs are hunting you. I will give props to Arc Raiders for that, right? Like, the drones and the NPCs in that game did feel like they were hunting you at times and not necessarily just following you around like they know your exact location. I don't really want to reinstall it. I kind of want to show you what I'm highlighting about, or like, talking about, but I don't really want to reinstall Arc Raiders. Like, there was a few moments in PvE, right, where like, this game's kind of cool, with Arc Raiders, in the sense of like, hey, these robots are like, there was actual stealth involved, right? I was like sneaking around robots who were like very clearly patrolling around, and they saw me occasionally, so they went to my last location. Tarantula, that was part of the Theaters of War update. I probably shouldn't go up here with the amount of ammo I don't have. But I just holy shit, there's fucking brawlers up here. Yeah, it's on the fucking run. We're dipping. Oh man, I can probably kill brawlers with this, but between the brawlers and the HK, yeah, I'll just step. We're going back to the enders here.
Well, we're still here. Let's count this.
That worked pretty well, I guess. Plenty of experience, my god. Yeah, and that's the big thing, though, is like the stealth overhaul is... Like I said, the stealth overhaul is, I would think, more focused on the level design and the respawn mechanic, as opposed... Oh, that was the thing too, beep beep. I think what I wrote down a mention of them about reworking was respawns. I don't think I could ever convince them of reworking respawns in the actual bespoke maps. At least not with a proof of concept first. And I think reworking how respawns work in the tunnels is a very safe step for them to like... try stuff out without doing it in the full game. I think we'll get new maps, Snowman, but I don't think it will be like the maps we have now. I think it will be like tunnels content, which I actually like. Like the way, for example, the bunker on Mesa, hold on. Like the bunker on Mesa, right? I view that as essentially a tunnel. You would go to like Ashen Mesa, you would go to an extract on Mesa to take you to the bunker, and that you would go to the bunker on Ashen Mesa from there, right? So it wouldn't be like a full-fledged map, but it would be a bespoke map using like a pre-existing location by adding more depth to that location. Like if
if their point is they cannot do indoor areas with large outdoor maps for whatever reason, then cheat. Do indoor maps by making the indoor maps just a map of them their own. The loading screens in this game are so quick with SSDs, I don't think anyone will care if they had to do a 5-second loading screen if they need to get to bunker or go do a separate map. All right, did I get what I was looking for? Yeah, I think that's universally agreed upon. I think they have too much loot. It also just highlights how kind of mediocre the looting is in the game currently, but yeah. Looting takes too long. All right, so we didn't find machine parts in the first few maps. If I was machine parts, where would I be? Maybe mech trench? Maybe scrapyard? I would think actually a scrapyard might be a good option here. I would imagine lots of people probably skip scrapyard because scrapyard's not a very desirable map. So maybe let's do some scrapyard and see if we can't punk the game out. Maybe there's a trick here. For scrapyard being a pretty unpopular map, I would think. Or a map you often run through. Because I've heard machine ports are hard to get. So I'm curious if that's just because people usually avoid maps like Scrapyard. Well, we're here to get some quests too, I guess. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Not the same gun. I could bring an AK and RPK, but they patched out the ability to use two of the same gun. Because it would, okay, because it would be a large, oh god, there's so many different things. Because it would be a revision to fixing lots of different things, I would honestly say my scavenger camp idea. Like, if I was to give them a high priority of a system to actually flush out, it would be multi-raid and adding scavenger camps. Like, that feels like a very important thing to have. I think we should run through this map to get a scrap here quickly. I'll go around the railing, though. Because it, like, the scavenger camp solves lots of different issues. It adds roguelike progression for people who are like, who want to go farther in but not risk all the loot that they got. It adds a way you can do like actual raids on innards that aren't actually the innards. So you can actually have some like defensive missions for like scavengers who want to defend stuff. It adds an item sink area for progression. And mainly it helps people like essentially choose how they want to play the game a bit better. It gives some control back to players on what maps they play and how often they play them. Now, I say that thinking that like under what I think they're currently under, that would be an actual like thing they could do. If I was to go real crackpot though, and like do what I would really want them to do, that I don't think they're ever going to do because of how fundamentally it changes the game and probably their baseline code or their baseline systems, is I would go to turn-based. I would take the IRL timer, I would shoot it into the fucking moon and change how time progresses in the game to turn-based. But that's such a fundamental change, it will never happen at this point. They're too far along, I feel like. But if they're not, hit me up, fun dog. If you're not, I will do so much to help in that regard. But they're too far along to actually do it. It pains me so. Is that a gotcha? Yeah.
Try to carefully.
I mean, it's the only way you can. Okay. I should just like pin my post from Discord in here. So right now everything is balanced off your IRL clock time passing.
So crafting is just your computer's clock. The IRL water drain, before it was removed, was based off your computer's clock. The theaters of war, radar towers, all of the crafting, all of that stuff is based off the clock. And so if you're trying to balance gameplay or progression between a casual player and an aggressive or more no-life player, more competitive player, you're gonna have issues if you're ever trying to introduce the idea of scarcity into your game. The oppression of like resources into your game, right? And if you like, so you can't have a resource drain over time and not have it disproportionately punish more casual players, right? Or like, or if you did make it punish casual player, like there's no balancing it, right? It's an impossible problem to solve. Even if you strike this perfect middle ground, it won't ever be perfect. It won't ever be perfectly balanced or as well balanced as it could be. And so the idea is to throw that all out the window and just remove time from the equation. You make let's say for example every raid was a shift, and a day is comprised of 3 shifts, right? So you have a morning, an afternoon, and an evening shift. You can, every time you do those 3 shifts and a day passes, stuff happens on a day basis, right? You get stuff happen on a shift basis too. Let's say, for example, your innards drained water over time. You could have that water drain happen every single day. So you have 3 shifts, and after that 3 shifts, your innards consumes water. That immediately makes water drain fair for everyone, regardless of playtime. It now more becomes skill expression or planning expression, which I guess is skill expression, right? As opposed to just, can you sink enough time in this day, in this week, or this month IRL to actually avoid the mechanic? And it means because you can put water drain back in, you can contextualize lots of different crafts with opportunity cost. You know, let's say for example you want to craft painless. Right now painless creates 31 days, or sorry, 31 hours of IRL time, right? But that doesn't mean anything other than just like, don't play the game for 31 hours or just wait for this for 31 hours, right? There's no context behind it. But as opposed to that, let's say for example if painless took 5 days to craft, right? Well, that's 5 days of you crafting this item that might take up a crafting slot, and that means it's 5 days of water drain also. There is that opportunity cost of you spending water to keep your innards alive while also crafting this item. It immediately contextualizes the weight. Drain a shift, or like, there's like, think of it this way, you have dollars and you have cents. And so, for example, you have shifts and days. A shift is a cent in this instance. Multiple cents make up a dollar. Multiple shifts make up a day. However many shifts you want in a day, you start getting to the actual balancing of it, right? But ultimately, you would only have like resources like water drain over actual periods of time like that, or like over fixed periods of time like that. But the key distinction here is, right, is that this is all based off of things you do in the game, not based on your computer's clock. And it immediately creates a punishment for death too, right? Outside of just like losing your gear. If you die during a shift, you could lose that shift, you could lose that day. You could immediately have the punishment for dying being that you don't get to do stuff that day and you drain water. That immediately means that like you have more punishing deaths now, and you can tie water drain to progression. As you get more upgrades over time, or you do more things, or you progress, water drain could get harder on you, so you create this kind of negative feedback loop where as you progress, it's getting harder and harder to maintain your innards. It drives progress forward, right? And the key distinction here is, right, is that this is what I think of when I think of a system that's trying to make you feel not oppressed per se, but make you feel like resource scarcity is a thing. Like water is important. Like, that's the key driver here, right? If you're trying to have a system where it's supposed to make this resource feel important, then it needs to be important to everyone, not just those who only maybe play an hour a week. Because you need to provide the consistent experience to everyone, in my opinion. But like, that's the system I'm highlighting will never happen because it's so fundamentally different to how they've done everything. It would probably require a complete rework, which they would be so probably there's like no fucking shot, to be quite frank. As much as I think the game needs it, I do not think they're willing to take that risk of doing a complete rework like that. In the meanwhile, though, scavenger camps are more of a feature addition as opposed to a feature rework, so I could see that maybe being a thing. Though having different scav camps with different save, like, it might fuck with their underlying architecture of how they do saves way too much. But anyway, someone asked about Ark. I think, like, they're two completely different games. Ark is a well-polished but generic extraction shooter. If you really like just a core extraction shooter and are okay with like a very generic loop, then yeah, you'll like Ark Raiders a lot, I think. I feel sad because I like the PvE elements of that game seem very interesting, but are always going to be overshadowed now by the PvP elements. It would genuinely be funny if they pull a Dune or pull like an everything now. Like after a month after release, they're gonna be like, hey, we're gonna do a PvE mode now. Foamy, the way I would do it is that it would not be linked, but there would be an upgrade or a native way of you sending loot back to the innards. That I would imagine, considering, like, holy shit, small medkits. Personally, like, naturally in my system, it'd be shift based, but in this instance, it would be IRL timer based, right? Like you throw what, like, you can keep some loot, like you have essentially your scav camp stash and your scav camp mule, right? And over time, your scav camp mule will send stuff back to your innards. And that is essentially a way of providing like a roguelike mechanic for newer players or just anyone in general, of slowly sending stuff back to your innards. All right, we're trying to do a Scrapyard, which I think is right here to the right. Yeah, like that's part of the progression, right? Like you can make each of these scav camps investable, right? And you would have multiple of them. And the core premise is here too, right? Like, I know for a fact that Miles really likes the idea of like innard raids, right? Like defending your home base or having people show up at your doorstep who are utter badasses. And I think doing that in the actual factual innards is insanely dangerous for a casual audience. Like, even if you want your game to be hardcore, like what you're describing there, like, needs to be opt-in. It cannot be the default state, I feel like. However, I say that saying these scavenger camps, the not innards that you still invest heavily in, 100% should be on the line. Those are the things where if you fuck up wildly and do some really stupid shit on a raid, where if you piss a faction off, they go annihilate your scav camp. And that progression is lost. So in a way, you have your permanent progression. It's kind of like if you look at prestige, right, with your characters, right? You have your prestige and your experience. The scavenger camps are your experience, your innards are your prestige. You do not lose prestige, you only lose your experience. So that would be kind of the parallel here with the scavenger camp. It's a very useful tool, but it's also fleeting if you know, don't play by the rules, for example. Yeah, and like, they kind of, I mean, you could say that too about the innards wipe right now, right? The soft wipe is only a setback, not a game over, but like, it's enough loss to a fundamental, like, it's enough, like, it's important to have those two distinctions, right? Where you have your permanent progression, and then you have your you know, temporary progression. Having that dichotomy will actually like have players, I think, be much more okay with losing progress here and there. And like, this is all why, for example, like, while I say like an idea like the scavenger camps is very important to have, or would be what I would say them for, like, I would push them to work on as opposed to anything else I have so far. I would love for them to do water more than anything else. I already know it's a fucking moot point. Imagine reworking water, like, or working on water 3 times in a row and having this fucking streamer being like, but what if you did it again? And more invasively to your core gameplay loop. What if you just entirely changed the paradigm which your game operated on? Alright, let me go see if there's actually fucking parts from here. I mean, Foamy, that could work, right? But like, the key distinction here is, right, is that, like, that works, Foamy, but like, the underlying principle I'm highlighting here is that casual players do not genuinely like that level of, like, it doesn't happen in Tarkov either, right? You don't lose your hideout progress, right? That is permanent progress for your character. It is insanely dangerous to rip something like that away from the player without it being very clear that it's fleeting and dangerous, right? Like, that is the concern, right? Is that, like, I'm not saying that shouldn't exist, but it needs to be strictly opt-in, and it needs to be so transparent what you're opting into when you're risking innards progression. Especially as they add more and more to the innards and make the grind harder and harder. So like, while I actually do think what you're saying is part of like a hard wipe sort of loop to like actually, hold on, to actually like facilitate a cycle that's kind of more endgamey as opposed to like something that should happen cyclically or often. Like, as they, like, I like that they added in, like, much more expensive and grindy buildings for the innards now, but it just makes the threat of doing a hard wipe like that, it's a soft wipe, but you lose your building, so it's basically a hard wipe, very dangerous. Hey, you just grinded for like 100 hours to get your full innard upgrades, get wrecked, noob. I think what you're literally describing, Foamy, is how to more probably likely handle like actual scavenger camp raids, right? Like those are the things that like what you're describing should happen to, right? Like, I am fully on board for raids to happen on scavenger camps, and maybe even pretty often too, right? Especially if you're pretty gun-ho with how you use ammunition. Do I want to double back? Oh, we can. I'm not going to Tunnel C anyway, so let's just double back and go back through. Yeah, the thing that can stagger lock you might be too much. That's an aggro sound. Underrun. I think we're going to Tunnel C, boys. It feels temporarily safer. Protect me, gotcha.
Keep it together.
Thankfully, I get free bullets back.
Has our luck run out?
Oh, an effigy. That wasn't there before. This is the dead end, but it's a loot area, so let me see if I can find some actual ammo here. And maybe some
Only
meds.
have to be faster than the slowest human.
Let me get rid of some alcohol, I think, actually. Overburdening me. Alright. Buy you. Actually, I can't drink when I'm actually full HP. That's lame. About you.
Enemy density indicates
Actually, I'm just kind of like natively full from just random stuff. Actually,
we should head home.
oh, I hear a mom. I think in the next room. Yeah. Can she get through here?
Tons of tangos in the area.
I guess the answer to that is no. I guess the answer to that is no. Alright, if I recall, that way took me to stairway. Fuck stairway, let me just go through here then. Unfortunately though, the other option though is this tile over here I'm not really a big fan of, but we'll see. See, beep beep. This tile can be a pain in the ass. Okay, thankfully it's just low armor guys. No drones? No drones is huge. I am so happy that didn't knock me down. Babble is way worse. Stairway is just annoying. Babble is actually just like hell. Oh, I don't. I spend experience on Masked Man, or should I do not spend experience on Masked Man until I actually want to use a gun I can't use. I don't generally spend experience at all. It's one of those things where I don't find any of them impactful enough to bother wasting time unlocking them. Basically. So. But it would probably be specialty like the two weapons you can't use, like grenade launchers, like LMGs, I think, and heavy rifles. and then moving over to just I mean, I would do stamina eventually, but like, I just don't bother. That's kind of the downside too of like, because like the problem is like I'm early enough in prestiging where if I go spend some experience, like 10 minutes later, an hour later, I'll be just redoing it again. So it's like, what's the fucking point? It's small, for example. I know, like, don't get me, I am rationalizing it, but I understand like it's not asking a lot of me, but it is just tedious to me, so I just don't bother with it. Running out of this fucking spaceman, my god. I think this is the dead end room, right? Yeah. Yeah, I don't worry about it too much, and like, unless I want to use a gun, so like if I need to use a grenade launcher, I'll unlock that, but yeah, I don't worry about it until like much higher up. Yep. Motor's worth it. Damn it. What do I have that's not worth the wait? Probably any ammo I can't use is probably not worth it. I'm pretty full on good stuff though, actually, it looks like. Motor definitely worth though. Everything else here, not sure so much. No. I don't even feel modifications on the guns, dude. The only thing that matters to me on guns is like an optic that I can kind of use, and then actually I think the glue might be important. Is the optic, a silencer, and a drum mag. My kingdom for whatever we need. Machine parts. I would say predominantly, I feel like most people who say they feel it, it's probably placebo. I mean, it might be one of those things too where it's so minuscule too, where it's like a 5% difference is not gonna be noticeable. So many motors. When we get the ability to craft drones, we're gonna be fucking set. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of chip damage in the game where medkits can help you out a lot. And there's lots of like, for newer players learning how to move and learning how the AI works, you're gonna take damage a lot of the time before you realize what fights you need to actively just murder people on and what fights you can actually avoid. So like, Gunhead's rough because you don't get to mitigate any of that. I would say 20% is probably when you should start noticing it. It's important too. Like you can have instances where the changes are small, but like let's say for example ergonomics in Tarkov, like small changes of a few points in Tarkov aren't that big, but the important thing is you can get your gun into a state. You can modify your gun enough to the point where ergonomics has gone from like 100 to 0 or 0 to 100, and so you can see the full weight of a change, right? And we don't really have that. Like the few instances where you can actually kind of do that in this game, the differences aren't noticeable enough. God, so many motors. Like I said, I think Ark will be a fine game, Fuchara. Like, I think it will have a good player base. I think it will be, like, fairly successful. I just don't think it will be, like, the second coming of Tarkov. I think it will, like, basically, it will do probably a hunt showdown sort of thing, where it will be popular for a very short span of time, and kind of go into, like, a hibernation state for a long period of time, where, like, people will play it. It will have a pretty good player base, but it will be not gigantic. It's not going to be like an Apex, or it's not going to be like a Counter-Strike. It's not going to be like a League. It's not going to be like a Tarkov either. But I think it will probably have a healthy enough player base to continue existing for a long time and get milked the fuck out of by Nexon. It feels... Because the base world building of the world seems kind of cool in Ark Raiders, along with like some of their enemy design and like how enemies work. It's just a shame that I can kind of tell it's going to be overshadowed by its support for PvP. Okay, no. Why? Hold on. Are you being supported by anything? This is fucking... We're leaving. This fucking staircase is haunted. All right, extracts. What's the best one? Probably the one over here, I imagine. Probably the safest to get to. That one involves going through the main area in the center. That one involves basically the same thing. The only downside of the one we're going to is that the dog in the field could be an issue. Hopefully it's just not there. It's not always there. I'm just so full of loot right now. I don't think I have what I need. And I kind of want to go loot the main area over there in Frozen Swamp to see if it's there, but, I'm trying to, like, logically think where machine parts would be.
This is it. We decide what
Unfortunately, it's probably not, like me thinking that way, it's probably not going to do me any favors, because it's probably not, like, it's probably just a part of a loot pool. That's kind of generic, I imagine. We're just getting unlucky. Has no one found it before? I'm sure someone's got to have found one before. Game, so this will probably be our last run. So slightly longer than normal, but actually, I mean, we started a little bit late too, though, actually. Not too much so. You've seen exactly one, so it's probably just like arbitrarily rare.
Whittle them down and we can break out.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's kind of what I was feeling like too, is like they probably spawn, like, I have theories on why they're not spawning, or why they're rarer than they probably should be. There's not a lot of containers on Scorched and Mesa, especially not a lot of normal loot containers.
Everyone put them down.
And if it's part of a very bloated common loot pool, I can understand why you haven't seen any at all, really. On the plus side, though, with all the motors we got, we'll be fucking set. Oof, this guy's got so many fucking motors on me. We'll be able to make so many fast travel drones when we can actually make fast travel drones. There's the patrol that respawned. Alright, let's avoid the dog. It's not a common spawn out here, but it's something you gotta be wary of, because it will just surprise you sometimes. Which is never quite fun, to get suddenly murdered by a dog. Alright, here's the real test, actually. Can you see the problem here, everyone? Do you see what's happening here? Oh, hey. And every single one of them is like that. It's a field of things that block bullets that shouldn't block bullets. Alright, we want to get the actual extract, not the tunnel extract.
Always a pleasure, folks.
That was a cool run. It was longer than it was supposed to be. We were supposed to leave at Scrapyard, but unfortunately we gotta push it to the extract. So many motors, though. Alright, move to stash. I don't think I got machine parts off of that, though. Nope. Yeah, I have 9 motors now. So many motors. And, like, I have so many power cells, too. I'll get upgrades eventually, I guess. Maybe one day. I just saw bolts earlier. That I should have picked them up because they were rare. They seem so mundane, I didn't pick them up at all. Weapon parts. I probably should loot a lot more until I get stuff unlocked. We're one machine part away. Alright. Anyway, that's it for today, everyone. I will see you guys again this Thursday. Other than that, I have an idea for a new video in the works. It's been in the brainstorming stage. We'll see if it comes out or not, or we'll just get another script in the portfolio. Other than that, take it easy, guys. I will see you guys Thursday, and take it all easy.